Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have the deck profile for the deck I played around with at Locals a little bit last night, being Deskbots. So, if you didn't see the announcement on the community tab, which is also where the Locals poll is located, I was originally going to be taking this Deskbot OTK deck to Locals, but the shop manager for that night had the spontaneous idea to run a speed duel draft tournament. So we all decided to do that instead. I did play a couple games with this. In between the rounds of speed duels, and then after the tournament concluded, played a couple games with it. Overall, it did fairly well. I did get a really, really nice OTK against Toons, but without any further ado, here is a look at what the deck looks like on paper, then we'll get to the card by card. Okay, so starting off with the monsters, we're running 2 copies of Deskbot 9. So we're running 2 just because we can either A, special summon it out of the deck with Deskbot 3, or we can pendulum summon it, but we don't want to see this all the time. It does have a really nice effect where it gains attack equal to the combined current attack of all Deskbots on the field, which is really nice, but only thing is that this is the only one that can attack when you activate that, but it also has the clause in the effect when it battles, your opponent's cards and effects can't be activated until the end of the damage step. And then it also does have a destruction substitution effect where you can destroy a different Deskbot instead. So this is kind of like a pseudo boss, if you will. It's like a secondary win condition, I guess you could say. Next, moving on to some of our scales. I'm running 2 Deskbot 8 and 2 Deskbot 7. So the odd and even numbers, they pair up with each other. So like 7 and 8 go together, and then 5 and 6 go together. They don't really have pendulum effects. It just makes it to where you can only pendulum summon Deskbots as a condition. But that's not really relevant because this is a pure Deskbot OTK. They do each have unique effects. They normally don't come up, but 8 can attack 2 monsters, and then 7 does piercing. That's basically all you need to know for those. 7 did come in clutch with the OTK against Toons, though, because his monster was in defense position. Next, 2 copies of 6 and 2 copies of 5. So, again, we're basically just making it to where we can have compatible scales, 1 and 10. 6, if it gets summoned, it changes a opposing monster's battle position. And then this one pops a spell or trap, and it also gains 500 for each Deskbot in your extra deck. Then, I forgot to mention, Deskbot 8 gains 500 for each Deskbot card in your graveyard. So, there are a couple of ways that they can pump themselves up, but these aren't the main ones hitting the field. You're mainly putting these guys in the scales. Next is 2 copies of Deskbot 4. So this is kind of like a supplementary one. If you can get them on the field, cool. If not, cool. So this guy, during damage calc, you can send a Deskbot monster from your deck to the graveyard, something other than 4. Then it gains attack equal, or attack and defense, but really attack is really all that matters, equal to the sent monster's level times 500. So if you send a Deskbot 9 from your deck to the graveyard, he gains 4,500 attack points, which is really nice. The only drawback is that there's no battle damage. That's the only problem. When the effect goes off, your opponent takes no battle damage, which kind of is counterintuitive for an OTK deck, but it does have a really nice effect where if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon 2 Deskbots with different levels from your hand and or grave. And the special summoning part we'll get into in just a minute on why that is potentially very, very good. Next is the main star of the show, being 3 copies of Deskbot 3. So when this guy is normal summoned, you can special summon another Deskbot from your deck. Yeah, that's really nice. And then during damage calculation, or it's not even during damage calculation, it's just as a quick effect, but I like to use it during damage calculation because then there's less effects that can negate it. You can target a Deskbot you control, including himself, and he gains 500 attack and defense for every Deskbot card on the field. So that includes your pendulum scales. So yeah, this is the guy that you use to pump up your other Deskbots. It's really nice when you use Deskbot 9, and then you can also use 3 to pump up 9 even more. So yeah, just really nice there, being able to quickly swarm the field and increase your attack. The main one you're going to be special summoning off of Deskbot 3 is Deskbot 2. So when this guy is special summoned, you get to search for a Deskbot card from your deck to your hand, and that is not once per turn. 2 also pumps up every Deskbot on the field by 500, except for himself. So if you have 3 Deskbot 2s on the field, each one is only going to get boosted by 1,000. Because say this guy right here, he's going to get a 500 boost from him and him, but not himself. So that can be a little bit confusing when you're playing in real life, so you just gotta kind of stop and think, do a little bit of math. Alright, and rounding out the monsters, we have 2 copies of Deskbot 1. So I'm running 2 copies of this one rather than 3 because this is actually the only Deskbot that we can't pendulum summon since our low scale is a 1. So I don't want to quite see this as often, but if you can get it on the field, it's actually really, really nice. So it gains 500 attack and defense for each machine monster you control. So it by itself can get pretty big, but then there's also the boosts from your other Deskbots to just make it absolutely massive. And then if 2 of your machine monsters are special summoned to your field at the same time, while it's in the graveyard, you can actually special summon it to your field, and we'll get to why that is important right now with the 3 of spell card, Machine Duplication. So basically, you can normal summon 3, special 2, activate Machine Duplication, targeting 2, so then after you get your search, you get 2 more Deskbots and 2 more searches. So Machine Duplication is one of the core cards of the deck. That's why you run it at 3. There's also another card you can use to actually search for this, and I'll get to that later. Another one of the core parts of the deck is 3 copies of Limiter Removal. So I don't think this one needs very much explaining. It doubles the attack of all your machine monsters, but blows them up during the end phase. But if you pull off the OTK, then that doesn't really matter. And it's a quick play spell, so you can chain it to stuff. So really nice. And again, you can search this with another card we're going to get to later. And one of my favorite things to do is go and activate Limiter Removal. Use that card to search a second Limiter Removal, and then just watch my opponent's soul leave their body. So we'll get to that in a little bit, though. First, we have 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. For our 3 copies of Clockwork Knight. So Foolish Burial Goods is literally just to dump Clockwork Knight out of the deck, and it's a 3 of, so that way we can draw it as often as possible. And 3 Clockwork Knight, the Clockwork Knight serves 2 different purposes. So, well, technically you could say it serves 3, but while it's on the field, all face-up monsters on the field become machine monsters, so that also means your opponent's monsters become machines. So it can actually kind of limit what they can summon as kind of like a pseudo floodgate, I guess you could say. But the main thing for it being on the field is that it bumps up my machines by 500 and decreases my opponent's machines by 500. So it just helps to enable the OTK. But the most important part is actually this last effect right here. If it's in the graveyard, you can banish it, then discard a card to add an Earth Machine from your deck to your hand. So obviously we are going to be mainly searching for our main star of the deck being Deskbot 3. So literally, Foolish Burial Goods, Clockwork Knight, and a regular card. Boom, instant Deskbot 3. So, yeah. Obviously, this is a staple 3 of in the deck. Next, running 3 Deskbot base. So not only is this another Deskbot card for the effect of Deskbot 3, but it also gives all your Deskbots a 500 attack boost, and it actually allows you to fix your hand a little bit. You can reveal any number of Deskbot cards in your hand, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw the same number of cards. Now, it does have another effect where it says you can banish 9 Deskbot cards with different names from your field and or graveyard. Just shuffle all cards from your opponent's hand, field, and graveyard into the deck. Usually, the duel's not going to last that long. Okay, it's mainly for the attack boost and sometimes the hand fixing. Now, the next card is what I was referring to earlier. 2 copies of Left Arm Offering. So basically what this does is if we have at least 2 other cards in our hand, we can banish the rest of our hand as cost to add a spell from our deck to our hand. So basically, what we can do is we get all of our Despots that we can on the board. If we have at least 2 cards, we activate Left Arm Offering, banishing the rest of our hand, and we search for limiter removal. I mean, technically, you could also search for machine duplication if you really, really, really needed it, but you gotta be beyond desperate to search machine dupe with this. So, mainly it's for limiter removal. And then finally, just our one-of spells to round out the main deck. 1 Reasoning, because they're all sorts of different levels. 1 Terraforming, to search for the Deskbot base. And then also 1 Called by the Grave, because this deck is super reliant on Deskbot 3 going off. So if we can use this to stop an Ash Blossom, then it's just what we gotta do. So yeah, that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed. We did pretty good, considering we only played a couple games. I'm hoping maybe I can bring this back to locals when we do another tournament another time. Or I may also play this against some people at my university's event where we teach them how to play the game. I might bring this and play against some of the rookies just for fun. I'll go easy on them, of course, but it would be kind of fun. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Like, subscribe, vote in the locals poll, and I'll see you guys next time.